Today, we go over the top 10 games I recommend that you have to play for the NES. If you have never played the NES, or maybe if you have children right now and you're wondering, what games, Troll, do you think my child needs to play, or do I need to play on the NES to get the full experience of what the system was all about from the 80s? We're gonna break it down to our top 10. I know you're guys gonna be saying, oh, there's gotta be games like Punch Out, and there's gotta be Mario and Duck Hunt and Battletoads and Ninja Turtles and all these games. There are way too many games out there, and yes, it was very hard to break it down to just 10 games. But I'm gonna give you my 10 games. I wanna know down below in the comment section, which 10 games would you choose? Or if you want, give me your top 3, that's fine. Give me 3, all right? But let's get into it right now. We're gonna go into number 10, which is no other than Tecmo Bowl. Move over, Madden, because in 1991, it was all about Tecmo Bowl. And the fact that you can select the Raiders, you had the unstoppable force of Bo Jackson. We all remember the episode of Family Guy when Peter Griffin picks the Raiders because he has Bo Jackson, and Quagmire's like, nah, that's cheating. Well, it's pretty much kind of true. Bo Jackson was unstoppable in the game, but it was one of those classic football games that you had to play and still holds true to today as one of the greatest sports games of all time. Number 9, I think this one is actually pretty good, because the first Double Dragon on the NES was capable of compelling coin-op conversion, but the sequel, Double Dragon 2: The Revenge, was superior to the original in many ways, primarily because it kept this core feature of the franchise co-op play intact on the home system. Brawling brothers Billy and Jimmy Lee were once again playable in both single player mode, but for the first time on the 8-bit Nintendo, you and a friend could team up to punch, kick, and hair pull your foes to death simultaneously through all new sets of side-scrolling beat 'em up stages. It was one of those games that honestly we always grew up, and I took karate when I was a kid. You know, I was in Taekwondo, Judo. And I remember I always wanted to be one of the Double Dragons. I mean, yes, you had Street Fighter with Ryo and Ken, but these were the originals. These were the two guys that you wanted to be when you were a little kid. Even the movie back in the day, all right? And Alyssa Milano was very beautiful in that movie. But that movie was actually one of my favorite movies as well. Not only that, but the TV show was a great one as well. So Double Dragon has brought us many, many things. I hope they come out with another one in the future as well, because I am down for some more Dragon. Number 8 on the list goes no other than the ball itself. The person at the end of the game that gave you the biggest twist there was out there was Nintendo's Metroid, coming to the United States in 1987, and immediately floored gamers, not only with its slick presentation, interesting protagonist, and open world, but from the fact that it was a non-linear in nature. Developed on the same engine as Kid Icarus and released around the same time, Metroid toned down the action platforming found in Icarus and focused on exploration. Metro was unique for so many reasons, among them the ability to explore at your own pace. All the terrain was interconnected in one-to-one big map, and the idea later expanded and matured by Super Nintendo's Super Metroid. And I mean, Metroid's one of those franchises that when you play the game, if you beat it under 3 hours, you realize that it's a woman, it's Samus Aris. But Metroid came out with Metroid, Super Metroid, which is probably one of my favorite games of all time for the Super Nintendo, and then obviously Metro Prime, and all these other games have come out as well, and of course the one that's gonna be coming out very soon for the Nintendo Switch, which I'm excited to be playing in the future as well. But the sky's the limit for Metroid. We've also seen them in Super Smash Brothers, so I'm excited. If you have never played the original one, the NES, you need to get your hands on it because you are missing out on that one. But of course, talking about missing out, we go to number 7. Number 7 is no other than the Ninja Gaiden that got a start on the NES in 1989 with what's considered one of the best, most difficult action platformers ever. The main character, Ryu Hayabusa, wielded a katana with deadly precision, and he had a grouping of special weapons to use as well. The current day Ninja Gaiden had a reputation of being already difficult, but it was the NES original that initially set the trend. Ninja Gaiden Revenge of Shinobi. Revenge of Shinobi was one for the Sega Genesis. Ninja Gaiden was one for the NES. I honestly, God, have loved Ninja Gaiden over Shinobi. And I think Ninja Gaiden is one of those type of games that have set us up for all these games that have come out right now, like Wukong, and you can even say even, you know, Elden Ring and all these other games that have been coming out for us, because I think with that type of style of game where you had, you know, that element of surprise, element of, you know, running around, jumping, clinging onto different walls, it gave us a lot that we have to enjoy today. So if you're not playing Ninja Gaiden, you got to get into it. It's just too good. Number 6, and we've had this one on our list before as one of the top 6 retro games of the past, is no other than Castlevania. Dozens of Castlevania games have come and gone over the last 2 decades, but the series started for American gamers on the Nintendo Entertainment System. The original Castlevania was a typical action platformer on its facet, but once explored, the game proved to be much more. In an era of 8-bit graphics and MIDI music, which had probably the best music out there that I love, Konami crafted a game that immersed you in the horror of Dracula's castle while all of you were looking at and hearing was an artful combination of the typical sights and sounds of this day. Castlevania is only 6 stages long, but you'll require a lot of luck and skill getting through even half of it. I have seen people do no-hit runs on it. I've seen people do speed runs in this game. It is one of those type of games that if you just go off the edge just a little bit, you will fall to your death. It is probably my favorite Castlevania of the whole entire series. We did do a tier list for our Konami games, and obviously Castlevania was on the top of that list as well. If you have not played it, again, I'm going to say it right now, you got to play it. But now we jump into the top 5. And this is where things get interesting, because we're in the top 5. So now we have to kind of like wonder, which 5 games is Mr. Angry Troll going to tell us? And if you've been enjoying this, make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we got a lot more of these rankings that are going to be coming out. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. Let's get into it right now. Number 5 is no other than Adventure Island 2, that took the original Adventure Island somewhat tedious, straightforward platforming and fleshed it out, becoming the foundation for the Solid series. Years before Yoshi first crammed a fat plumber on his back, Adventure Island 2 offers some of the coolest dinosaur wrangling in the business. The game's protagonist, Master Higgins, a yachty playboy with a knack for taming giant lizards, sets on his venture with a little more than a ball cap and a grass skirt. Some of the island's giant eggs pack ferocious but adorable dinos who will let you hitch a ride until they take damage. Treat them well and you'll be riding through the 8 stages in style. I played the original Adventure Island. I played Adventure Island 2, and honestly, this game was one of my favorites. Honestly, I think Adventure Island was a classic. You had to play it. You had to get your hands on it. It just has everything on it, and of course, it paved the way to obviously Mario having Yoshi. So if you have not played it, you have to. Like, come on. All right, I'm giving you the top 10 right now. All right. But I'm gonna give you number 4. And number 4 has to be when Mega Man finally hit the American shores in the late 80s. Capcom couldn't have realized the gaming force it had unleashed to everyone out here. Dozens and dozens of games have spawned from this very title. The first 6 Mega Mans released on the NES, and for a good reason. Mega Man is one of those best examples of great graphics, amazing music, and near perfect gameplay rolled into one cartridge. The original Mega Man is perhaps best known, however, for its staggering difficulty level. It's not only one of the hardest in the franchise, but one of the hardest NES games, period. The cool thing about it was that you had a game, and obviously you had about 6 stages. You had to pick who you will fight, and you would take their powers. So you had like Guts Man, Cuts Man, you know, Speed Man, Penguin Man, all these different people from all the different games I'm talking about. You would take their powers, and then each one will be weaker depending on who you're fighting. But if you pick the wrong one to go up against, you may have a problem trying to fight that person because they're not weak against, you know, Gutsman's power or just Mega Man's regular power. So it was a lot of like trying to pick and choose. So you would always get that Nintendo Power magazine, or kind of like, you know, we didn't have the internet back there, but like, you know, game guides to see how to beat it or ask your friends. But Mega Man honestly is one of my favorite games of all time. And honestly, to be honest, it's one of my favorite characters in any game that's out there. Mega Man Legends is a hell of a game if you have not played it. Mega Man X, one of my favorites. I love every single character in that game. What's the other one right now? Mega Man playing in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Huge guy, I love him as well. So if you have not got a Mega Man, any of the Mega Mans I recommend. If you want to play one, go ahead. If you want to play 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, get any one of them that you want out there. They're great, trust me. Number 3. It is too dangerous to go it out alone. Because few franchises in Nintendo's story history are as famous as The Legend of Zelda. And back in 1987, the franchise started off with a bang with one of the most ambitious replica gold-plated cartridges to ever grace the NES. Zelda was an action-packed adventure game with RPG elements, and in an age without the internet, people were on their own about how to get to the game in one piece. Some people made maps, others called Nintendo's own hotline for help, or even consulted a magazine. And some were fortunate enough to have friends who knew the answers. I mean, I knew the answers because I was, you know, 5 years old at that time. No, I didn't know the answers, but my cousin knew the answers and he gave me the answers, all right? So Legend of Zelda was one of those games that it was funny because it's called The Legend of Zelda, but you're playing as Link, saving Zelda from Ganon. So when you see it, you're like, wait a second, but that's not Zelda, that's Zelda's the princess. So it was a game that literally took over. We had Link to the Past, we had Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild. We have them in Soul Calibur. I think it was Soul Calibur 2. He came out on the GameCube version of it. That's how iconic Link was. It was one of those things that literally has spanned out and has been game of the year, character of the year. It's just too much. It's one of those things that if you have not played it, play it. You're gonna enjoy it. Trust me on this one. It is an amazing game, an amazing story. I'm actually dying to play it again. I just finished playing A Link to the Past with a randomizer, which is a lot of fun, but I don't think I can do that again. Number 2. All right, and I'm gonna say right now, this is one of Capcom's games that honestly, a lot of people would not think that it would be like in the top, maybe in the top 10, but not in the top 2. And honestly, look, I was a fan of, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, but one of the games that Capcom's famous, Mega Man Architect, right? That was not a Mega Man game, has to be DuckTales, is the best of the bunch. DuckTales is a must-have game in the NES library. The gameplay is on a classic action platforming variety. Gamers take the role of Scrooge McDuck, who goes through various stages to collect wealth, defeating enemies with his pogo stick attack. The music was great, especially the moon level. If you never played that level, it is amazing. Let's play a little bit about it. Now, I'm gonna break it down for a little secret for y'all, all right? So come closer. I'm gonna tell you a little secret. If the gamer managed to finish with 10 million in funds and has 2 special hidden treasures, a unique ending can be unlocked. If you didn't know that, now you do. But DuckTales is one of those games that you have to come out and get. Nintendo Switch to come out with another version of it where you're able to play, I think, that one, Chip and Dale and Darkwing Duck, and you can reverse the gameplay and things like that. Kind of like what they did with Aladdin and the Lion King. So check it out there if you can't get it for the NES because you don't have an NES Mini or you have the original NES and don't want to buy the cartridge. You can always get it on the Nintendo Switch store. So check that one out. Trust me, it is a banger of a game, and it's made by Capcom. Capcom is great, so trust me. You know what? Why did they put Scrooge McDuck in Marvel vs. Capcom? That's a very good question. That should be talked about. Did you imagine Scrooge McDuck with a pogo stick just bouncing on people in Capcom versus Marvel vs. Capcom? That'll be too much. And of course, number one, with no further ado, all right, is no other than Punch Out. No, just kidding. It is Super Mario Brothers 3. Because look, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I was stranded on an island with a power source, an NES, and a single game, it will unquestionably be Super Mario Brothers 3. The most anticipated game of the NES, Super Mario Bros. 3 had nothing short of a feature film, plugging it before it hit store shelves. Super Mario Bros. 3 does everything an NES game can possibly do and pushes the NES to its very limits of its capabilities. And we can call it the greatest NES game of all time. And honestly, look, I remember getting this game. And if I'm not mistaken, I was in California. I was on a summer vacation. I went to a store. Remember, this is how like much I remember this. I went into a store. It was like, I think it was like maybe like almost like one of those like regular stores, but they had video games on it as well. And my uncle goes to me, do you want this game or do you want this game? And it was between Super Mario Brothers or it was WWF Steel Cage. And I was a huge, WWE fan. Oh my God, Hulk Hogan and Honky Tonk Man and all these people. And I ended up choosing Super Mario Bros. 3. And to this day, I think that was the smartest decision I ever made in my life. Because Super Mario Bros. 3 is what has made us enjoy all these games that have come out. From Super Mario Bros. World that came out after that, to All Stars, to Mario 64, to Mario Sunshine, to Galaxy, and everything else has been coming out for us. It paved the wave. All right, yes, we have Super Mario Bros. 1. We've had 2, which 2 is a stressful game out there, but 3 was just the chef's kiss. It was the best game out there. And honestly, I want to know right now, all right, we've given you the top 10 games, all right? We give you Super Mario Bros. 3, we give you DuckTales, Legend of Zelda, Mega Man, Adventure Island 2, Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, Metroid, Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, and Tecmo Bowl. I want to know, out of these 10 games, which one would you remove and which one would you add on? Because honestly, I think it's a pretty good, like, well-rounded for someone that's never played the NES. And I think when you get like a grandkid, my daughter's older right now. When she has her kids, I'm gonna get them an NES and go, look, you're gonna play these games for have fun. They're like, what are we playing? But I think these are the top 10 games that anybody who will play will have a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed them back in the day. I actually want to play them all right now. I think once we're done here, I'm just going to start playing all these games, but I hope you enjoyed this video. We have another one dropping up right up here. Make sure to check that one out. We're playing some retro games out there as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe. And we're going to be coming out with more of these videos with the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx 16, and others as well. So stay tuned for those. I am Mr. Angry Troll, your favorite troll on YouTube. See you later, alligator. Peace out.